Hello everyone, my name is Trung Nguyen. I'm a student of ISA 4220 System Security, and today I'll present to you the operating system which is specific to the Microsoft Server 2022 and the Ubuntu 24 and they firewall making up of the window firewall and the IP table for Linux. For the presentation, this is the list of the slideshow that I'll be talking about. Um, Approximately 10 slides, and we have Microsoft 2022 technical detail, uh, Microsoft 2022 hardening recommendation, Ubuntu 24 hardening recommendation, Ubuntu 24 technical detail, and move on to firewall. We have Windows technical detail, Window hardening recommendation, IP table technical detail, and finally is the IP table hardening recommendation. Starting with the first slide is the introductory into the operating system and firewall. So for the operating system, they are an interactive computer system created to help the user to manage both computer hardware and software, making a computer working as what they supposed to and how they supposed to according to the user interest. And the firewall usually come with the operating system. They are the network security feature designed to filter and monitor ongoing traffic in complying with the user computer guideline. So basically, they act as a security guard for the operating system of the computer, uh, block or against any potential bad actor to penetrate and potentially damage the computer hardware and software. Moving on to our next slide. Now let's go over the minimum hardware requirement and some key feature for the Microsoft Server 2022. For the minimum hardware requirement, first the uh, computer processor should be 1.4 gigahertz, 64-bit. Uh, for the memory, it need at least 512 megabyte for server core or 2 gigabyte if you're running the full desktop experience. For storage wise, you need at least 32 gigabyte of free disk space, and for the display, 1024 by 6768 resolution is required for certain feature. Obviously, if you wanna run more uh, application, make the computer run better. You can upgrade the processor, memory, and storage, but these are just the minimum requirement to run Microsoft Server 2022. For the key feature, uh, we have within the Microsoft Server 2022 is include advanced multi-layer security with secure core server capability, which strengthen protection against firmware and hardware level attack. It also support trusted platform module 2.2, 2.0, or also known as TPM 2.0 for secure cryptography operation. Another highlight is the Azure Hybrid Cloud integration, making it easier to extend on-premises infrastructure to the cloud. Finally, in the Microsoft Edge have replaced Internet Explorer as the default browser, giving better security and performance. Finally, these requirements and features ensure that the system is both capable and secure for modern workload. Now, let's look at some of the critical security hardening steps for the Microsoft Server 2022 um, that you should implement after installation. Uh, the first security hardening security recommendation I recommend is the enabling enabling the secure core server feature. This include secure boot, which ensure the system boot only trusted code, the virtualization space security, and credential guard, which protect sensitive credential from theft. The TPM 2.0, which handle encryption with secure key storage, the hypervisor protected code integrity, which stands short for XBCI, which stop a single driver from running, and system guard, which ensures system integrity during startup. For the second recommendation, I would recommend the enabling BitLocker dry encryption um, to protect data at rest, store the recovery key securely in Active Directory or Azure Key Vault for compliant and disaster recovery. And for the last recommendation is the disable unnecessary roles and services. Uh, Finally, reduce the attack surface by uh, disabling unnecessary role feature and services. Remove anything not in use and make sure guest account and anonymous lock on are disabled. Uh, these measures significantly strengthen the server security posture against modern threat. Moving on to our next slide, we have the Ubuntu Server 24 technical detail. In this slide, we're talking about a medium hardware requirement as well as showing some key feature from this specific Ubuntu Server 24. To begin with, the minimum requirements to run Ubuntu Server 24 require the processor be at least 1 gigahertz at 64-bit CPU with 1.5 gigabyte RAM for the ISO version or 1 gig if deployed in the cloud. Display requirement are minimal 5 gigabyte for the ISO or 4 gigabyte for the cloud deployment. Uh, Unlike the Microsoft, Ubuntu Server 24 doesn't need any graphical display uh, because Linux run in a command line interface. For the key feature, we got kernel Linux 6.8 offering performance improvement and hardware support. They also support TOS 1.3 for encryption, communication, full IPv6 capability, and Canon Article landscape integration for centralized management and update. Um, these minimal requirements make Linux server lightweight, flexible, and ideal for both cloud and on-premise deployment. Next, let's cover some critical Linux server hardening steps to improve security. Our first recommendation would be enable secure boot. Uh, sec- Enable secure boot help validate the integrity of the boot process. Only software signed with trusted key can run, which protect the system from boot level malware. The second recommendation would be enhanced logging and monitoring. Logging and monitoring are essential. Tool like LogWatch provide summary of the system activity, while Loggerate ensure log don't fill up, display, and help maintain historical audit data. Our third recommendation would be hardening user authentication uh, by extending user authentication. It helps enforce a strong password policy and configure pluggable authentication module, short for PAM or PAM. This prevents unauthorized access and protects against brute force attack. Uh, by implementing these measures, significantly increase the re- resistance of Linux server against common threat. Now let's discuss the Windows firewall, includes requirement and feature. For the hardware requirement, Windows firewall doesn't need any specific CPU and use minimal RAM since it's integrated into the operating system kernel. Storage requirement is small, mainly for lock and administrative privilege are required to make configuration change. It supports both IPv4 and IPv6 along with TCP, UDP, ICMP, and custom protocol. For the key feature, Windows Firewall use classified profile um, into domain, private, and public. To apply different rules depend on network location. It provides straightforward packet inspection and advanced security management. Administrator can define rules for inbound and outbound traffic using program rule, port rules, protocol rules, or custom rules, giving precise control over network traffic. The capability allows Windows Firewall to protect the system effectively while remaining highly configurable. Next, let's look at some key Windows Firewall hardening recommendation. Our first point would be enforcing across all profile. First, make sure the firewall is enforced on all profile, including domain, private, and public, with all options enabled. This helps ensure consistent protection regardless of network location. A second recommendation would be integrate with IPsec, integrate the firewall with IPsec to encrypt traffic for critical communication. Use Kerberos or certificate-based IPsec would ensure that sensitive data is transmitted securely. Our third recommendation is the restrict remote desktop access. Um, by tightening the remote desktop protocol, which is the RDP access. It's allow connection only from trusted IP address and requires network level authentication NLA. This reduces the risk of unauthorized remote access. Um, by implementing these recommendations significantly, it helps strengthen Windows firewall security and protects critical service from unauthorized access. Moving on to the next slide, let's now discuss on the IP table uh, the core firewall utility for the Linux system. With the definition, the IP table is a user space command line tool that configures the net filter framework in the Linux kernel. It's used to filter and manipulate network packet according to rule we define. The key component makeup of the IP table firewall, including the table, which organize rule by function, such as filter for packet filtering or NAT for network address translation. The change would define the path uh, packet tag like input, output, or forward rule and target, where each rule specify matching condition and what action to take, like accept, drop, or reject. Understand the component is essential for building an effective Linux firewall. Next, let's look at some of the IP table hardening recommendation for a secure Linux server. First recommendation will be setting the default drop policy. Always configure a default drop policy for the input and forward change. This ensures that any traffic not explicitly allowed by a rule is automatically blocked. The second recommendation will be allow outbound DHCP requests to maintain network connectivity. Allow outbound DHCP requests. This permits the server to obtain an IP address dynamically by sending UDP packet to port 67 and receiving response on port 68. Our third recommendation will be allowing outbound NTP requests uh, by allowing outbound NTP traffic on UDP port 123. This enables the server to synchronize its clock with trusted time server, which is critical for accurate login and security monitoring. These rules form the foundation for hardening Linux firewall, controlling what traffic is allowed and maintaining essential network functionality. Thank you for listening on my presentation. I hope it's helped. If you guys have any questions, please contact me at tnguy390 at student dot kennesaw.edu. Thank you. Have a good day.